Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again from Film Fanatic headquarters. It is Monday, December 15th. Getting really, really close to visited by Santa Claus here. It's December 15th, 10:11 on a Monday morning. Hope everyone's had a really great weekend. I went over to dinner with my folks and I watched some really great movies this weekend. New releases. One that was from last year. So I just uploaded the video. I recorded it yesterday, and I just uploaded it today. And I did a show on a movie that came out in 2024 called Flow, and it's an animated movie about these animals. And it's a pretty unique film. I really was kind of moved by this movie. It's a very emotional movie. It's kind of a sad movie, but then it's I don't know. It's a real I don't know, tearjerker. But very emotional movie. Very it's there's no dialogue in it whatsoever, which is very interesting. The camera work, the way this whole film is put together is very unique. There's a lot of like 3D camera work, I believe, in this movie. It's all animated again, and it's a very interesting movie. So I just uploaded the my review of this film. I had heard about this movie last year when it came out, but I didn't see it until Saturday night. Watched it Saturday night. There's a YouTube guy that I came across pretty recently, and he was talking about this movie being just like an extraordinary experience, really. So, and this guy has pretty good taste, and he's a pretty smart guy. So I was like, okay, I got to check this movie out, and they had it at Opera House Video when I went there. But very cool. So check out the review, and definitely check out the movie. Most importantly, very interesting movie. I love animated films, and this is a very unique film that stands out. So, and as far as other things that are happening, on a totally sad note, I did hear I came home last night from dinner. I don't know, probably around 10:30 or so, 10 o'clock. We watched. Typically, when I go over my folks for dinner, I always bring some movies over. I only brought one movie over. We only watched one movie last night because usually with Christmas Eve and Christmas Day or Christmas Day night, we will watch a shit ton of movies. Thanksgiving we always do that around the holidays, so I only got one so I can have some other new releases, if you will, to look forward to. But I got home, we watched one movie which I'm going to be talking about today or this morning, and I saw the news, the headlines of Rob Reiner and his wife apparently being stabbed to death in their house in California. Pretty horrific. I I'm not sure of the details. There it sounds like it was definitely a homicide, possibly involving a family member, but what a horrible thing, and to say the least, and such. Uh, I mean, Rob Reiner's made so many incredible films. I'm probably going to do a tribute show and talk about his movies. I mean, just, yeah, Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, Misery. I mean, just so many great films. Spinal Tap. He just had directed, and it just came out fairly recently, the sequel to Spinal Tap. Crazy, totally crazy. So I don't know what the details are, but I probably will do a show about about him as a director. You know, just a tremendous director. He's a generational director. I mean, so many of his films impacted myself included throughout the years. I mean, multiple generations. So yeah. And as far as other things that are happening that are slightly more on a positive note, this Friday we will. This Friday night at 7 o'clock, Quantum, my band Quantum, and Travis Lloyd will be playing at Hey Sailor at 7 o'clock. right at Hey Sailor. Very excited. This was a show that took a while to kind of line up. It was a long process to kind of get everything lined up. So very excited. Travis Lloyd is a tremendous talent, and it's going to be right at 7 o'clock. I do believe Travis is going to go on first. He's going to be kind of playing and debuting this new style that he's doing now. Very electronic based. Tremendous singer, tremendous songwriter. I've been doing promotion for it for a while, and this week I'll be doing it pretty heavily. So if you're in the area and come on by to Hey Sailor, it's a really really awesome venue. Been fortunate to play there a lot over the last few years. So great food, great atmosphere. So come on by. And there's a lot of movie happenings going on this week too, which I'm really excited. Kind of feels weird talking about something so tragic and then segueing into something that's very positive, but I'm trying to do my best here. So yeah, movie news. There's three movies coming out this week. Three films that are hitting theaters in various ways that I really want to see, and I'm gonna definitely go see two of them. So about a month and a half ago, or about a month ago, my band that I've been really fortunate to play with, Osmia, I started playing with them in the springtime of this year, and it's been such a great, fantastic ride. I've been a fan of their music for a few years before, and then things just kind of shifted, and I ended up becoming a member of the band, and then I ended up doing. We went on tour, which was pretty wild and super fun, and then we came back, and this year we've played a lot of shows together, and then we did another little mini joint tour at the end of the summer, and we've been really busy, and we're kind of on a little bit of a break. Our next show isn't until, I believe, like mid-February. And then aside from the shows that we've been playing, we just about 3 or 4 weeks ago we just finished recording our first album, my first recording with Osmia. So very excited about that. So that will be out at some point later. Well, probably at this point next year, 2026, which is hard to believe. And about a month and a half ago or so, we played this really cool gig up at this place called the Red Rabbit Bazaar in Bangor, Maine. Super cool spot. Essentially it's a vintage clothing shop, and they do shows. They do like punk shows there, I think a couple times a month. And we played there, and it was super fun. It was we literally set up in the shop. They moved the clothing out of the way, and then they have this really cool downstairs that they use for other kinds of events and things like that. Super cool. Very cool spot. And so about a few weeks after we had our show there, I looked them up on Instagram, and Cara Alsek, who is the owner, is a pretty fantastic lady, but she has this really cool knack for designing posters and kind of like showcasing and promotion for shows. She's been part of the whole kind of music scene in Maine for a very long time. And so I found their Instagram page, and I was looking at it, and I was looking at like all these events that they've had in the past, and then they also have a lot of events coming up. And I saw that they have this other thing that she started called the Film Club, and I was like, oh, cool, what's that? And I was not able to go, but one of the movies I saw that they had, which was a few weeks ago, super bummed I couldn't make it. But they do these screenings of slasher grindhouse movies. And I'm like, what? Where did this come from? But the first movie I came across that they showed is my hands down my all-time favorite slasher movie, Bill Leswig's Maniac. They showed that there, and I was just like, what? So immediately, that had my attention, of course. That movie's a masterpiece. That's easily my favorite slasher movie. And so I looked into them more, this whole film club thing that they have. And they have like a separate Instagram page, and they have lots of events, lots of movies. And this week, which I'm super excited to go, and I'm definitely going to go, but this week, Thursday night at 8 o'clock, they're going to be showing the original from 1974, Black Christmas with Margaret Kidder, which is a masterpiece. Probably the most important slasher movie ever made. You know, in some ways, one of the most influential. So, it's super excited. I don't know how they're showing it, or, I mean, it's not gonna be like going to the movies. It's not gonna be like they're not gonna. I don't think it's not a movie theater, but so I'm curious. They'll probably show Blu-ray or 4K. They do have this. When we were there setting up for our show, they had this really huge like television setup, and they were playing Nosferatu, and they had a 4K version of it, which was pretty impressive, and it looked amazing. So I'm down for seeing this with with some other folks that are into this shit, because I don't know. Well, I have like, as far as friends that are into slasher movies and grindhouse movies, I have like about four friends that I know that are into it. So, but other than that, it's a little bit harder to find people that are into these kinds of movies. So I'm just excited to see it. I mean, I have it on Blu-ray. It's one of my all-time favorite slasher movies. It's just incredible. I was really fortunate to have Adrienne Lynn, who was the actress in Black Christmas. Got to interview her for this channel last year. Tremendous movie. Tremendous movie. The remake is an absolute pile of shit, so stay away. But the original from '74 is a masterpiece. So I'm going to go to that on Thursday, and that's going to be 8 o'clock in Bangor. So I'm really excited to check that whole scene out. And then I believe on Saturday, this coming Saturday, at the Waldorf After Dark, which I've done lots of reviews, and after going to see Black Christmas, I've talked about this movie a lot, and I've done reviews on. I know I've done multiple videos on Black Christmas, but after seeing it in this new kind of setting, and for this event, I'm definitely going to do a review of the whole show, of the whole experience. But I believe it's this Saturday. The great folks at Waldorf After Dark at the Waldorf Theater are going to be showing for Christmas Eyes Wide Shut, and I'm like, oh fuck yeah, I am so there. That was the last Stanley Kubrick movie that he directed before he passed away, unfortunately, prematurely. My favorite director of all time, and also Eyes Wide Shut is the only Kubrick movie I got to see in the theater when it came out. I saw it opening weekend, and it's a masterpiece, and it's a fucked up Christmas movie. So I'm really excited to see that. I'm definitely gonna try to make that happen. I'm pretty sure it's this coming weekend on Saturday. And to see it again on the blue screen, and they're probably gonna get a really beautiful Blu-ray 4K version of it. Because the great folks at Waldorf the Theater, they really do. They usually get great versions of these films whenever they show them. So, and I'll definitely do a show after that experience. And then there's another movie that I really want to try to see, which might be a little bit tough, but I really want to see it. And it's called Secret Agent. And I've heard from a friend that this movie is a masterpiece, and it's a new movie. It's a period piece from like 1977, or it's set in '77, and it's a Brazilian movie. And he said it's just absolutely a stunning movie. I don't know anything about it, but I'm going to try to go see that if I can, because it's opening this weekend um, at the Maine Film Center in Waterville, Maine, which is a an amazing place to go to a movie. I've gone there twice now. I went there to see the new Knives Out film, which was super awesome, and then I also saw last weekend, went to the whole Kill Bill, the whole Bloody Affair movie experience, which was absolutely incredible. So there's a lot of stuff going on this weekend, so it's very cool. Mostly centered on movies. So today's show is on a brand new movie that just came out this year, and I honestly was not really excited by this movie. I got to see the trailer in the theater, and I was like, I don't know. And then I heard some good things about it, and I really, really love this movie. It kind of came out of nowhere, and that is the new Darren Aronofsky movie, Caught Stealing, starring Austin Butler, an amazing cast, Zoe Kravitz. It's kind of a fantastic movie. I was really surprised. I watched it last night on DVD. Extraordinary cast, of course. Austin Butler, Zoe Kravitz, Matt Smith, Bad Bunny, Liv Schreiber, Vincent D'Onofrio. It's again. I was so surprised with this movie because I do really love Darren Aronofsky's films. I think he's been, as of late, I haven't been so into his more recent work. The one film of his that kind of like pushed me a little bit out of, I guess, loving his films as much was a movie he did a few years ago called Mother, which is a movie I'd like to revisit, but I could not get into that movie, and I felt like it got a little bit too self-absorbed. But his early films, Darren Aronofsky's films, are just tremendous, tremendous films. I mean, I think Requiem for a Dream is that's a masterpiece. I mean, that's an incredible movie, and also Pi, which I love that movie. That might be my favorite Darren Aronofsky film. An extraordinary film. And then Black Swan, Natalie Portman, another masterpiece of a film. The Fountain is just an incredible film as well. He did a movie with Russell Crowe, Noah, which is actually a really good movie. And so his films are typically very heavy. They have a lot of religious symbolism. They're about tragedy. They're about horror, personal horrors that people experience. Obviously, about mental illness, addiction. And his films, The Wrestler was another movie he did with Mickey Rourke. And his movies are very, well, in a lot of ways, emotionally brutal. But he has a very interesting. He definitely has a very specific style. A lot of religious overtones and symbolism throughout his movies. And I do think his films, he does have horror elements of well, like the melodrama, also movies that have a psychedelic elements of science fiction, elements of horror. He has really, there's examples of him blending other genres together. When you look at a film like Pi and then you compare a movie like The Fountain, very heavy and very deeply kind of moving films and very intense, but, genre-wise, stylistically, very diverse, very diverse. But I've always loved his films. I just it kind of tapered off for me when he did Mother, but and then I know he did a film um, a few years ago with Brendan Fraser, The Whale, which I haven't seen that movie. I heard that movie wasn't so good, but so anyway, this is his new movie, Caught Stealing, and again, I saw this movie in the well, I saw a trailer for this movie last, or actually this year, pretty recently. It just came out on DVD and Blu-ray, and I saw the trailer for Caught Stealing, and I didn't like it. When I first saw the trailer, I didn't like it. I thought it literally before I knew before I knew it was a Darren Aronofsky film, I thought it was a new Guy Ritchie film. You know, like a crime caper genre film. You know, with a lot of humor, some violence, really quirky. You know, out of out of bounds characters. You know, really over the top. Very kind of everything feels like it's centered in this like heightened reality. But I totally thought when I saw the trailer for Caught Stealing, I can't remember what movie it was that I had seen, but I remember turning to my friend and I was like, "Wait, this is a Guy Ritchie movie. This is." And then when I saw at the end of the trailer, it was a Darren Aronofsky film. I was like, "What? This is like this." That was weird. I'm like, because I literally thought that this was that hyper kind of like it totally had that hyperkinetic style that Guy Ritchie has, especially like with his early films. And I was like that. It just looked really weird and off-putting that this felt like it was a Guy Ritchie film, but it was directed by Darren Aronofsky. And I was like, it looked kind of gritty. It looked um, like it was set in this heightened reality. It looked like a crime caper, you know. But I had no interest in seeing it. I thought the trailer was like, this is like so weird and off-putting. This is not what I expect from Darren Aronofsky, and it looked like what's going on here. Like it was very weird. And then after that, I just I kind of forgot about the movie. And then quite a few months went by, and then it just came out on DVD, Blu-ray, and a guy that I watch on YouTube pretty regularly, who has very very cool taste, was raving about this movie, saying that this movie was one of the best, if not the best movie that they had seen in the theater. They got to see this in the theater, and it was like one of the best, if not the best, movies that they had seen in 2025. So I was like, okay, wow, that's saying a lot. And this particular person really has really great taste. And I definitely really respect this person. So I was like, okay, I got to give this a shot. So I rented it this past weekend, and I was really surprised by this movie. We watched it last night. I was really, really surprised. And first and foremost, I will say that the trailer for this movie, the way it's edited and everything, is not at all what the movie is. It's I did not feel at all that this was like a Guy Ritchie film. It does have, this really kind of hyper kinetic energy to it, but it totally didn't have. I didn't think at all it felt like a Guy Ritchie film. It was very different, totally unique thing. But the way the trailer was, it didn't give that feeling at all. And I was really kind of blown away by how good this movie was. It's probably one of the best movies I've seen this year. Came out of nowhere, pretty under the radar. It was a movie I did not think was going to be good at all, or just like, kind of this. I mean, because Darren Aronofsky, like a lot of his films, they are not commercial by any means, and I felt like this was like maybe going to be him trying to like make a much more commercialized movie for the masses. And you could say that this movie has a little bit more of a commercial appeal, but I also would say that no, it's definitely a Darren Aronofsky film. It's a very very different film for him, but it has a lot of his style in it. So you know, I wouldn't say that he was like his intentions with doing this movie was to like make a commercial film that has like a more fun, light-hearted element. I wouldn't say that. Um, it's just a really good movie, and it definitely has his style. This movie it's essentially a crime caper film that has a lot of interesting plot twists. There's a little bit of humor in this film. It's a period piece, which is really interesting. It's kind of set in New York City, or it's set in 1998. The music is really really awesome for this film. I mean, Darren Aronofsky's known for having really great music for his movies, which he usually always does. And there's a really cool band that I got turned on to a few years ago called the Idols, which is like a punk band. Really, really cool punk band, really creative. They do all of the music for this movie, and the music is awesome. This movie it's set in 1998. It's kind of like a crime caper film. Um, it's very gritty. It really, I think this movie does such a great job with capturing New York City before it kind of got gentrified. It's really gritty. It's got this real sleazy, down and dirty vibe. It's very murky. The movie does have a little bit of a comedic flavor to it, and this movie does have Zoe Kravitz, and the cast is absolutely incredible. Austin Butler knocks it out of the park. And again, this movie has a very entertaining, fun aspect to it as far as the storytelling, and it's a very entertaining movie. Great characters, but the film also has some incredibly dark elements, very very dark, and it's incredibly violent, and it has a really cool balance of like a movie that is entertaining, has some comedic elements, great characters, really cool style to it, but then it the tone of the film at times changes so dramatically, where it's very very serious and it's very very dark and brutal. And it's interesting how it kind of goes back and forth from like kind of a funner, like something that has a little bit more of a fun aspect to it, where it's really entertaining, and then it gets very dark and stark, and it has a cool balance of going back and forth at times with this movie, with the style, and I think that darkness is obviously a big trait of Aronofsky's films, and he definitely has that in this film, because it does, like, we've seen films that have like a crime caper feel, but they which is it's a genre that's really can be really great, but we don't usually see films in that genre get as bleak or as dark at times as this does, and that is Aronofsky's flavor. But really great characters. There's a lot of kind of surprise. There's a couple of surprises in this movie where things happen to the characters without spoiling it, where I was like kind of shocked and very surprised. Did not see it coming, which I thought was really cool to kind of mess with your expectations. Again, taking that kind of crime caper genre and kind of messing with it a little bit and doing something different, messing with your expectations, which I think it can, when it's done well, is really refreshing. And I think he did that. Darren Aronofsky definitely did that with this film. I was very surprised. And again, it has a really great balance. It's funny, it's got some heart, it's very gritty, it's got some good comedy elements, and it's also very very dark and brutally violent at times, and it's a great blending of all of these different things, and it's just a really entertaining movie. That was, I looked up a review, a couple of reviews for this movie, and a couple of people that were talking about Caught Stealing, they were saying that this movie feels like Darren Aronofsky just legitimately had fun making it, and there was this sense of like, I don't know, being in love with the art of filmmaking, and that's kind of what this film feels like. Again, it's got those very dark and stark elements which we do expect, or that we've seen a lot in his films, but it has this like levity to it, which I thought was cool. It's not, I mean, you look at it, you look at Pie or Working for a Dream. It could be said, and I have to say, I think those movies are masterpieces. But I think those movies are so intense and so bleak that you perhaps you have to be in a certain mood to watch that film. You kind of have to, because there isn't, to a degree. I think, like, as much as I love Pie, there's something about that movie that is kind of relentless, and it's hard to take a breather because it's such an intense film. It's very claustrophobic, like a lot of his films have that sense of, and they have this. A lot of his films have this like sense of urgency, and it can kind of be unrelenting. So, even though I love those movies, it's not like a necessarily negative criticism, but I do think sometimes you need to be probably in a certain mindset to want to watch his films. Whereas this film has a lot of levity. You can just kind of throw it in, even though it does have those dark elements. It has a lot of levity with these other elements which you don't ever usually see in his other films. And his film had this, well, I thought as a period piece, I thought this film just felt so New York. It kind of reminded me of like Taxi Driver. Like you were like the city, New York City. That whole vibe is so captured, so perfectly in that movie, of course, Taxi Driver. And it is so strong that it feels like New York City itself and the environment is a character into itself. And that's what I feel happens with Caught Stealing. I think the city life, the griminess is so captured so well, and it's shot so well. The cinematography is really cool. The color palettes, I mean, there's a lot of drone, I guess, camera work in this film too, which is really, really cool, which I hadn't really seen too much of his, in his other films. But the city is such a part of the movie that it feels literally like New York City is a character in this movie, and it's really, really cool. I haven't really seen that happen in a long, long time, and it definitely reminded me of that grittiness of Taxi Driver, which I love. And so, very cool, very refreshing, beautiful editing. I love the script is really good. It's got a lot of cool twists and turns. The biggest surprise too was I was worried that this is going to feel like Darren Aronofsky trying to be a different director, trying to do a Guy Ritchie film. Guy Ritchie can be pretty hit or miss as of late. His first few films are pretty awesome, but he kind of does the same thing. He has the same kind of aesthetic, and his films are not, other outside of like Snatch or Lock, Stock and Barrel. Like those movies are just total masterpieces. But outside of that, his films are pretty hit or miss. But this movie, Caught Stealing, is actually not at all like a Guy Ritchie film. I didn't think at all. It had its own unique vibe. I don't think the trailer did it justice because it does make it look like that kind of a thing, but the actual movie was a totally different experience, and I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I was really, really surprised. Really, really surprised. Definitely check this movie out. It was a fun ride, but it had all of these other elements. A lot of levity, but really entertaining movie. Definitely check this movie out. So, yeah, thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.